You know how everyone's always saying relationships are about balance?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for Libras,
Right.
it's not just suggestion. It's practically written into their, cosmic DNA.
Yeah.
We are diving deep into the world of Libra in love today. And you have provided quite the source material. Looks like someone's serious about decoding their love life.
Indeed. This deep dive on Libras in love is extensive, and it definitely emphasizes a certain soulmate-searching energy.
It really does give looking for the one vibes, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Not just dipping their toes in the dating pool.
Right.
So we're dealing with a sign that seems all in on romance.
Yes.
What I find fascinating is how this plays into Libra's, core need for balance.
Well, what's fascinating here is that Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet of love and beauty. So Venus's influence on love and beauty is amplified in a Libra's life. It's not just about finding an equal partner, but experiencing that balance in every aspect of the relationship. Emotional, intellectual, even aesthetic.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
This fairy tale-like approach to romance really sets the stage for understanding a Libra's relationship style.
Yeah.
Big gestures, deep connection. But what happens when reality doesn't quite live up to those ideals?
That's where things can get tricky.
Yeah.
Because Libras are naturally idealistic, they might put their partners on a pedestal early on.
Right.
This, of course, sets them up for potential disappointment when their love doesn't quite match those Hollywood expectations.
Ah, the classic trap of high expectations.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to sweep them off their feet. A partner needs to sustain that spark over the long haul.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean Libras aren't proactive in love.
Okay.
They are incredibly affectionate, attentive partners, always up for those grand gestures and keeping the romance alive. Think surprise picnics in the park, thoughtful gifts, maybe even a beautifully decorated apartment just to set the mood.
So they're not just dreaming of romance, they're actively creating it.
Yes.
That's kind of adorable.
Mm-hmm.
But we've talked about their love of balance and this aversion to conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Those two things seem like they could clash, especially in the pressure cooker of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
How do Libras balance that?
You've hit on a key tension.
Good.
Libras are masters of diplomacy.
Right.
They'd much rather smooth things over than have a big blow up.
Mm.
And it's a big, this constant striving for peace can lead them to bottle up their own needs.
Oh, I see.
And that's not exactly a recipe for long-term relationship bliss.
So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Speak up and risk conflict, or stay quiet and potentially build resentment.
Right.
What a dilemma. And the source material really emphasizes how crucial self-awareness is for Libras in love.
Precisely. They need to find that sweet spot between maintaining harmony and advocating for themselves. It's about expressing their needs and desires while still honoring their diplomatic nature,
Right.
which, as you can imagine, is a constant balancing act.
It's so interesting how this need for harmony plays out in a Libra's relationships. We were just talking about how they're always striving for that perfect balance between speaking their truth and keeping the peace.
Absolutely. And that's where this deep dive gets even more insightful. Because it's not just about understanding Libra on a surface level, but seeing how they evolve in love as they mature and gain experience.
Let's unpack that a bit. How does a Libra's approach to love actually change over time?
Well, early on, a Libra might be more likely to avoid conflict at all costs.
Right.
Always striving to preserve that sense of harmony. But as they mature, they begin to understand that disagreements are actually inevitable in any relationship, no matter how balanced.
It's about shifting from avoiding conflict to managing conflict in a healthy way.
Exactly. And remember how we talked about Libras putting their partners on a pedestal?
Mm-hmm.
That also tends to shift as they gain more relationship experience. Life, as we know, is not a fairy tale, and we're all beautifully flawed individuals.
It's about letting go of those idealistic expectations and embracing the real messy beauty of a genuine connection, right?
You got it. That's where real growth happens for Libras in love. When they can hold on to their core values of balance and harmony, but also make space for the natural ebb and flow, the disagreements and resolutions that come with any authentic partnership.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between their innate idealism and the reality of navigating a long-term relationship.
Which makes me think about how Libras approach compatibility with other signs. The source material you provided actually dives into this, and I have to admit, I'm really curious about some of the pairings.
Me too. It's one of my favorite aspects of astrology,
Yeah.
exploring how different signs interact and the unique dynamics that emerge.
Exactly. So let's get specific. Were there any pairings that stood out to you as particularly interesting or potentially challenging for a Libra?
Well, remember, these are just broad strokes, as each individual is unique.
But according to the source, a Libra-Aries pairing definitely has that classic opposites attract energy.
Ooh, the fire of Aries balanced by the air of Libra. That makes me think about how their communication styles might clash or complement each other. Aries being so direct and Libra's valuing diplomacy, how does that work?
That's a great question. It can be a passionate and exciting pairing, but also prone to those classic clashes.
Right.
Aries is impulsive, direct, even a bit confrontational, while Libra prefers diplomacy, tact, and finding that middle ground.
So finding a communication style that honors both partners' needs would be crucial for that pairing to thrive. Yeah. What about other combinations? I'm particularly interested in the Libra-Taurus dynamic.
That's an interesting one. Both signs are ruled by Venus, so they share a love for beauty, harmony, and the finer things in life. Think romantic dinners, art museums, indulging in sensory pleasures. They'll definitely connect on that level.
Sounds like a match made in aesthetic heaven.
Mm.
But the source did mention some potential challenges for these two.
Right. While they might be on the same page when it comes to appreciating the finer things in life, their pace of life can be quite different.
Okay.
Taurus is all about stability, routine, and taking things slow. Libra, on the other hand, enjoys variety, socializing, and a bit of spontaneity.
So finding that balance between cozy nights in and exciting outings would be key for them.
Exactly. Now, for a meeting of the minds, you can't go wrong with a Libra-Gemini pairing. Both are air signs, so they'll connect on an intellectual level effortlessly. Think stimulating conversations, witty banter, and a shared love for exploring new ideas.
A match made in conversation heaven. But are there any potential snags there?
While they might speak the same language intellectually, emotionally it could be a different story.
Oh, okay.
Gemini tends to be more lighthearted, adaptable, even a bit emotionally detached at times, while Libra craves that deeper emotional connection.
So making sure they're on the same page emotionally is vital.
Yeah.
This is so fascinating. Were there any other pairings from the source that really stood out to you?
Well, one I found particularly intriguing was Libra and Cancer.
Okay.
This pairing brings together Libra's desire for harmony and balance with Cancer's nurturing, intuitive, and deeply emotional nature.
Okay, so there's potential for a very loving and supportive bond. But different emotional styles could also lead to misunderstandings.
You got it. Cancer is deeply emotional and sensitive, while Libra, while caring, tends to be more diplomatic and peace-loving.
Right.
Finding a way to communicate their feelings openly and honestly, while also honoring each other's emotional styles, is essential here.
It's fascinating how each of these pairings highlights different facets of Libra's desire for balance. Whether it's balancing communication styles with an Aries, finding a rhythm between spontaneity and stability with a Taurus, or navigating emotional depth with a Gemini or Cancer, it seems like understanding those nuances is key for Libra to thrive in love.
Absolutely. And it speaks to that core Libra trait of constantly seeking harmony, not just within themselves, but also within the dynamic of their relationships.
This has given me a lot to think about. But before we wrap up, I'm curious about one more thing. We often hear about how Mercury retrograde messes with our technology and travel plans. But does it affect Libras in love, too?
Oh, most definitely. And in a very Libra way, I might add.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, remember, Mercury is all about communication, clear thinking, and those practical aspects of our lives. So when it's in retrograde, expect miscommunications, misunderstandings, and delays to pop up.
Uh-oh.
And for our Libra listeners who value harmony and clear communication in their relationships, these retrogrades can feel a bit like navigating a cosmic obstacle course.
Uh-oh. So what's a Libra to do during those dreaded retrograde periods? Duck and cover.
Not necessarily. It's actually a good time for reflection. Use that retrograde energy to examine your relationship, revisit any lingering issues, and approach conversations with extra patience and understanding.
So kind of like a cosmic pause button to take stock and make sure everyone's still on the same page. And speaking of cosmic events, the source mentions something about the full moon being important for Libras in love.
Yes. The full moon is a powerful time for emotional release and renewal. And for Libras, it can be a potent opportunity to bring more harmony and balance into their relationships.
We've got to dive into that after the break. We'll be right back. We are back, and I am ready to harness some lunar energy. Before the break, we were talking about how the full moon can be a powerful time for Libras in love, especially when it comes to enhancing balance and harmony.
Yes. And the source you provided actually suggests some fascinating rituals that Libras can explore during this time.
Rituals. Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of practices are we talking about here?
Well, one ritual that stood out to me involves moonlight reflection.
Yep.
The idea is to use the full moon's energy as a way to examine your relationship. Any unresolved issues, fears, or imbalances that might be lurking beneath the surface.
So it's like hitting the pause button and taking a cosmic inventory of the relationship. I like.
Exactly. And the act of writing down these thoughts and feelings is incredibly powerful in itself. But then to amplify the release, the ritual suggests literally burning the paper. It's symbolic of letting go of those negative emotions, those blocks to harmony, and making space for fresh energy.
Wow, that's such a powerful visual.
Ugh.
Watching those worries literally go up in smoke.
Yeah.
Are there any other rituals mentioned that Libras might connect with?
There are. Crystals, for example, make an appearance. The source specifically mentions rose quartz, which is associated with love and compassion, and amethyst, known for its calming and emotionally healing properties.
Of course. Crystals, a natural fit for a sign so attuned to energy and balance.
Exactly. And the ritual is simple, yet powerful. The idea is to leave these crystals out under the full moon to cleanse and recharge their energy. Then you can keep them close as a reminder to approach your relationship with love, understanding, and a commitment to emotional well-being.
Yeah, I can see how those rituals would resonate with Libras. It's not just about creating harmony with a partner, but also cultivating that inner balance.
Precisely, and that's where self-love comes in.
Mm-hmm.
The source emphasizes this point repeatedly, that Libras can't pour from an empty cup. To truly thrive in their relationships, they need to prioritize their own well-being just as much as their partners.
That makes perfect sense. It's about recognizing that self-care isn't selfish. It's an essential act of creating a solid foundation for a healthy, loving relationship.
Couldn't agree more. Whether it's indulging in a luxurious bath, expressing themselves creatively, or setting those all-important boundaries, taking care of themselves allows Libras to show up as their best selves in all areas of life, including love.
This has been such an illuminating deep dive. We've covered so much ground, from Libra's core traits and how they approach love, to their compatibility with other signs, and even these fascinating moon rituals. If there's one thing I'm taking away from this, it's that for Libras, love is a constant balancing act, an ongoing dance between their innate desire for harmony and the beautiful complexities of a real-world relationship.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And while this deep dive provided incredible insights, it's really just the beginning. I encourage anyone listening who's serious about decoding their love life to spend some time with the source material. There's so much more to uncover.
Absolutely. Consider this your cosmic permission slip to curl up with this deep dive and explore your own astrological compatibility. Who knows what you might discover? Until next time.